Babylon's armies surrounded Jerusalem beneath rising smoke and fire. Terrified families fled desperately while heaven's holy city collapsed overnight forever. Among broken captives walked a quiet boy named Daniel. Babylon never imagined this chained prisoner would someday challenge mighty kings. Golden gates opened beneath towering idols and endless crowded streets. Daniel entered Babylon feeling smaller than the terrifying empire surrounding him. Nebuchadnezzar ruled Babylon like a god above nations and rulers. His throne terrified servants, nobles, prisoners, and kingdoms across the earth. Daniel and his friends entered Babylon's royal academy together. Every lesson pushed faithful hearts deeper inside dangerous foreign darkness daily. Royal servants delivered rich food beside overflowing Babylonian wine nightly. Daniel feared dishonoring God far more than angering powerful kings himself. Daniel quietly pushed Babylon's royal food away from himself completely. 3 faithful friends chose obedience and courage instead of fear together. The palace official feared Nebuchadnezzar's punishment more than anything greatly. Daniel calmly requested vegetables and water for 10 testing days instead. 10 difficult days passed quietly inside Babylon's glowing palace halls. Daniel appeared healthier and stronger than every royal student nearby afterward. Nebuchadnezzar admired wisdom flowing from Daniel and his companions greatly. Yet greater mysteries already moved silently toward Babylon's powerful palace walls. Nebuchadnezzar awoke trembling beneath violent storm-dark palace shadows late suddenly. The terrifying dream refused, leaving the frightened king peacefully afterward. The furious king demanded impossible answers from Babylon's wise men immediately tonight. Fear spread instantly across the empire after nobody answered successfully anymore. Babylon's guards stormed palace halls, searching desperately for frightened advisors everywhere. Every wise man suddenly faced death together beneath the furious kingdom. Daniel stepped courageously before Babylon's furious ruler, completely alone that night. Even faithful hearts sometimes fear becoming forgotten graves. Daniel and his friends fell desperately into prayer together that night. Heaven revealed visions of empires rising proudly before collapsing forever. A gigantic metallic statue towered beneath storm-dark heavens above the earth. Golden kingdoms gleamed proudly before destruction suddenly shattered their mighty power forever. A supernatural stone crashed violently into the towering metallic statue. Suddenly, great kingdoms instantly shattered like dust. Daniel entered Babylon's throne room surrounded by terrified advisors and guards. Everyone waited silently between life and death before the powerful king anxiously. Before Nebuchadnezzar spoke, Daniel revealed the hidden dream perfectly before everyone. Shock spread instantly across Babylon's silent court. Daniel explained kingdoms rising proudly before eventually collapsing into dust forever. Even mighty rulers remained beneath heaven's authority throughout every generation afterward. The heavenly stone would outlast every kingdom built by mankind forever. Unlike Babylon, God's eternal kingdom could never disappear from earth afterward. Nebuchadnezzar rose trembling before Daniel inside Babylon's glowing throne room silently. The mighty ruler bowed before the former Hebrew prisoner, completely astonished afterward. Daniel was honored above Babylon's rulers, advisors, and wise men, yet jealousy quietly began growing inside powerful hearts surrounding him. Years later, Nebuchadnezzar built a gigantic golden image across Babylon proudly. Every nation received commands to bow before the idol immediately afterward. Trumpets echoed loudly while thousands bowed before Babylon's golden image together. 3 young Hebrews remained standing silently among the kneeling crowds afterward. Nebuchadnezzar demanded the Hebrews bow before Babylon's blazing furnace angrily, yet the 3 faithful men refused fearlessly before the furious king completely. The Hebrews declared God could rescue them from Babylon's deadly flames completely. Even without rescue, they would never worship the empire's golden idol forever. Nebuchadnezzar's rage exploded violently throughout Babylon's crowded royal court. The furnace was heated hotter than anyone had witnessed previously. The furnace became so hot, guards feared approaching the flames closely anymore. Yet the Hebrews walked calmly toward the roaring fire without resistance together. The faithful Hebrews disappeared completely inside Babylon's roaring furnace before everyone. Moments later, mysterious figures began moving peacefully inside the blazing fire afterward. Nebuchadnezzar stared into the furnace, overwhelmed by fear and disbelief suddenly. The terrified king counted 4 men walking unharmed within the flames. Inside the furnace walked 4 glowing figures, untouched by the flames. The mysterious 4th figure appeared unlike anyone Babylon had ever seen before. The flames swirled violently around the Hebrews without harming them at all. Even their clothing remained untouched inside Babylon's roaring furnace. Nebuchadnezzar rushed toward the furnace and called the Hebrews outside immediately. The entire empire watched silently while the faithful men emerged unharmed together. Not even smoke remained upon the Hebrews after leaving Babylon's furnace completely. Nebuchadnezzar suddenly praised the God he once challenged before nations publicly. Years passed while Babylon grew richer beneath Nebuchadnezzar's powerful rule greatly. Yet pride quietly began growing once again inside the king's heart deeply. Another terrifying dream shook Nebuchadnezzar's soul during the dark night suddenly. A mighty tree towered above nations beneath storm-dark heavens throughout earth itself. A heavenly messenger descended beside the gigantic tree from stormy skies. The glowing watcher commanded the mighty tree be cut down forever. Nebuchadnezzar summoned Daniel again to explain heaven's terrifying vision immediately tonight. Daniel hesitated sorrowfully after understanding the judgment awaiting Babylon's king. Daniel warned Nebuchadnezzar that pride would destroy his kingdom forever. Eventually, if unrepentant, heaven would remove the mighty ruler from power. For 12 months, Nebuchadnezzar ignored heaven's warning without humility or repentance. One evening, the proud king glorified himself above all nations publicly. Before finishing his speech, heaven's voice thundered across Babylon suddenly. Nebuchadnezzar's mighty kingdom was removed from him instantly before everyone nearby. The ruler of Babylon lost his mind before every nation watching publicly. Nebuchadnezzar wandered alone beneath open heavens like a wild beast silently. For years, Babylon watched its mighty king disappear into madness, completely alone. Yet heaven had not forgotten Nebuchadnezzar, despite his terrible downfall entirely. Suddenly, Nebuchadnezzar's understanding returned beneath glowing heavenly light. One peaceful morning, the humbled king lifted his eyes toward heaven and worshipped God faithfully. Nebuchadnezzar returned humbled beneath Babylon's towering golden walls.
Celebrate the might of Babylon!
Yet another ruler would soon dishonor heaven before the empire. A new king named Belshazzar ruled Babylon with arrogance and pride. Unlike Nebuchadnezzar, he feared neither judgment nor the God above. One night, Belshazzar hosted a feast for Babylon's rulers and nobles. Music and laughter echoed loudly throughout the glowing palace halls. Belshazzar ordered sacred vessels from Jerusalem's temple into the celebration tonight. Holy treasures became entertainment before Babylon's idols and drunken nobles. The palace suddenly fell silent beneath flickering torchlight and fearful whispers. A mysterious hand appeared and wrote glowing words across the wall. Belshazzar's face turned pale while the glowing message burned brightly nearby. Fear spread rapidly throughout Babylon's feast hall before the shocked kingdom. None of Babylon's wise men understood the terrifying message upon the wall. Once again, confusion and fear overwhelmed the empire's royal palace completely. Then the queen remembered Daniel, the prophet from Nebuchadnezzar's forgotten reign. The elderly prophet entered Babylon's court one final time before kings. Belshazzar promised Daniel riches, honor, and power for the mysterious interpretation. That very night, the mighty empire would collapse before surrounding nations. Outside Babylon's walls, enemy armies moved silently beneath the darkened skies. Inside the palace, celebration continued without understanding approaching destruction nearby. Before sunrise, Babylon's mighty gates were breached beneath the covered darkness. The empire ruling Earth collapsed within a single unforgettable night. Babylon disappeared exactly as Daniel had prophesied years before the kingdom. Yet the prophet's greatest trial still waited ahead before heaven. A ruler named Darius placed Daniel above the kingdom's powerful leaders publicly. Once again, jealousy quietly began growing around the faithful old prophet. The kingdom admired Daniel's wisdom more than every ruler surrounding Darius. Soon, the king planned placing Daniel above the entire empire permanently. Jealous officials searched desperately for corruption hidden inside Daniel's long service. After decades of leadership, they still discovered no fault against him. Then the officials discovered Daniel prayed faithfully every single day openly. A dangerous plan immediately began forming inside their jealous hearts afterward. The rulers convinced Darius, signing a law across the Persian Empire, nobody could pray toward any god except the king for days. The moment Darius signed the decree, Daniel's trap became fully complete. Persia waited silently, watching whether the prophet would obey heaven faithfully. Daniel continued praying beside his open window exactly like before, daily. 3 times each day, the old prophet knelt before God faithfully. The jealous officials rushed triumphantly before Darius, accusing Daniel before everyone publicly. The prophet had broken Persia's royal law exactly as expected beforehand. Darius realized too late that manipulative rulers had deceived him completely. Yet Persian law could not change, even by royal command anymore. As evening approached, Daniel walked toward the lion's den beneath torchlight silently. Fear spread once again throughout the kingdom, watching the prophet disappear. Before Daniel entered the pit, Darius whispered one final, hopeful prayer softly. The grieving king begged Daniel's God, protecting him throughout the terrible night. Then the massive stone sealed the den before the watching kingdom. That night, Darius could not rest inside Persia's silent royal palace alone. The grieving ruler waited desperately for sunrise, while fearing Daniel's death. Inside the den, massive lions surrounded Daniel beneath heavenly light, peacefully tonight. Yet the old prophet remained calm, while heaven protected him faithfully. Before sunrise, Darius hurried toward the lion's den, filled with fear anxiously. The king barely dared, hoping Daniel survived the terrifying night below. Then Daniel's voice answered from the darkness beneath the sealed stone, calmly. The prophet remained alive, while lions never harmed him during night. The stone rolled away, while Persia watched Daniel emerge from darkness safely. Behind him, the lions remained peaceful beneath heaven's unseen protection nearby. King Darius embraced Daniel with overwhelming relief before the watching kingdom publicly. Once again, heaven protected the faithful prophet from impossible death completely. The rulers planning Daniel's death suddenly trembled before Persia's furious king afterward. Their carefully planned trap completely collapsed before heaven's power and justice. News about Daniel's survival spread rapidly throughout Persia and distant nations afterward. Darius issued a royal decree honoring Daniel's God above every nation publicly. Persia's empire now recognized heaven's authority after witnessing the miracle. Daniel continued serving faithfully through kingdoms, rulers, and generations, passing afterward peacefully. One night, Daniel received another terrifying vision beneath storm-dark heavenly skies alone. 4 monstrous beasts rose violently from the sea before him. Suddenly, Daniel watched kingdoms rising proudly before collapsing beneath heaven's eternal authority. Every empire of mankind eventually disappeared like waves throughout history completely. Then heavenly thrones appeared above nations, surrounded by fire and endless light. A glorious ancient king, a figure like the Son of Man, approached heaven's glorious eternal throne. He received a kingdom never-ending throughout every generation, forever. Daniel trembled beneath the overwhelming visions shown from heaven during the night. Yet God's eternal kingdom would outlast every empire upon earth forever. The prophet surviving kings, lions, and fire slowly grew old through history. Yet Daniel's faith remained unshaken beneath passing kingdoms and changing rulers. Empires rose proudly against heaven before disappearing completely into forgotten history afterward.